Hi Andrew, and welcome to the State Library of Queensland. It's fantastic to have the opportunity to talk with you here in the John Oxley Library. First up is a question. I know that you were a Cullman Fellow at the New York Public Library, which is one of the great libraries of the world. Could you tell us a little bit about the 8 months that you spent at the library?
Okay. Yeah, It's an incredible opportunity that 12 scholars get to have, some fiction writers, artists, but mostly academic scholars, to have access to all the stacks that are underneath the park next to the library. And most people can't take them out, but we got to keep them for all 8 months in our offices there.
Yes. So, I mean, the New York Public Library is a fantastic library, so you'd be the envy of many people to have had the opportunity to be there.
Hardly anybody gets to do what I did.
No, I know. So
Yeah.
very special indeed. And I guess that you would have had access to a lot of information that you weren't expecting to have access to?
Well, I didn't know, when you write a novel, you don't really know what you need until you suddenly need it. So it formed my whole novel. I would look at photographs, I would look at, they had a special genealogical section where I could look at New York history, because my book was set in New York in the first half of the 20th century. So I discovered all kinds of things that made it in.
So I guess the access to so many different types of information was invaluable, but did you also have access to the staff as well?
Yes, I did. They were, it is interesting. Librarians are interesting because you have contradictory goals in a way. One is access and the other is preservation.
That's true.
So
yes.
there's different departments would have different points
Yes.
where they lay.
Yes.
And oddly, the ones who gave the best access was the historical department, where they had like Nabokov's copies of Proust with all of his notes in it, and they would give you anything you wanted. It was a dreamland. Didn't help my novel, but I would go up there just to feel good about books.
There's a great quote, collecting without access is hoarding. So, and certainly it's important to give the access. So, and I guess you've visited many libraries throughout the world. What do you really enjoy about visiting libraries?
I love to see, I love a modern library like this one, because I love to see like the little cubbies where people are working, where you've made like a little space for them.
Yes.
And I also love an old one that's just wandering there. I was in Chennai in India, in a public library, just wandering around and seeing what people needed. What book, it was good to see it being so well utilized, not just the computers, but books, and I love seeing the stacks of books.
So I know you've only been here a couple of minutes, I guess, but what were your first impressions of walking into the State Library of Queensland?
Space,
Yes.
Quiet. Quiet's good in a library. I'm not doing a good job now. I feel really like a bad boy speaking so loudly. Serenity, I think. I haven't seen any books yet. You do have them here, don't you?
We do have some books, yes. And I guess people use libraries for lots of different things these days as well. So, and that's part of what we aim to do as well. And I guess you've seen a lot of changes in libraries during your lifetime. Where do you see libraries going in the future?
Well, you know this so much more than I do, but I've watched them, of course, going from giant rooms of stacks with the librarian in front saying, what can I get for you, and what I won't let you do, to really more community centers, places to study, places to get away. I think the internet access for people who don't have the funds for anything like that, for job training. I've seen in San Francisco, the libraries have taken over that role of certainly like helping people apply for jobs and print things out. I think that is not something we would have dreamed of in the 70s.
Yes. So public libraries are very much the centre of their communities and fulfilling a range of activities these days. Now, I know you haven't always been a writer of fiction. You've also been a travel writer, and you've spent the last week, and I guess, travelling a little bit of Australia. What are your impressions of Australia?
Okay, now I've seen Sydney and Brisbane, and I've seen a lot of bookshops. The impressions, it's hard to say. What's beautiful is I came from California here, and we're having identical weather at the moment, which meant I packed perfectly.
Yes.
It's been sort of exciting. I've loved the mix of people the openness. I will say Sydney is more cosmopolitan than my city, San Francisco.
Yes.
It made me feel a little old-fashioned.
Okay.
I am curious to see a little bit more, but I won't hardly see
Okay.
the whole.
And last Thursday night, I know you're at the Australian Book Industry Awards and actually received an award
I
yourself.
did get an award, yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
And I know that you would have had the opportunity to talk with some authors and see the books that were winning prizes, but as you said, you've also visited a number of bookshops as well in the last week. Are there any authors that you're particularly looking forward to reading more or finding out a bit more about?
David Malouf.
Ah, yes.
In
yes.
particular. In fact, Susie, the bookseller at Riverbend, was talking about him and talking about a poem that I heard hardly any time, but I went and read that poem, I think, which was the last 5 lines of Emperor Hadrian, which was remarkable. And so now I have to read much
Excellent.
more than one poem of his,
Yes.
of course.
Oh, terrific. Well, thank you for coming to the State Library of Queensland, Andrew. It's fantastic to have you a part of our Talking Ideas program, and I know that everyone is looking forward to meeting you and hearing from you as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.